Wemby came out the gates like a man possessed in his playoff debut. Massive game for him, massive first half in particular. It wasn't the smoothest ride for the Spurs. At times, it looked like they were running the Blazers off the floor, especially when Wemby was on the bench, and they did have more of a small ball lineup, but it really was not as big of a defeat as you'd maybe expect to see. That is understandable. Spurs have very little playoff experience on their team. So as the series goes on, expect to see them settle into it. And I think that games will become less and less competitive as we see the series continue. I do have this one ending in 4. I think it's very unlikely that Portland can do anything to halt the sweep. The only chance Portland has of taking a game away from San Antonio is for someone besides Denny to have a monster game. He's likely going to continue putting up similar stats as he did last night for the rest of the series. Even if he does that, that's not going to be enough if someone else is not able to up their offensive production as well. I'm looking for a guy like Shaden Sharp, maybe a Scoot Henderson. Jeremy Grant is well known for his ability to get hot quick. I don't see it happening, but if Portland does want to extend this to 5 or even on the very slim chance beyond that, they will absolutely need a two-pronged attack at some point in this series. San Antonio is having absolutely no issues getting easy paint touches. Blazers have no answer for Wemby. You would think that Klingon would be the primary defender on Wemby, and we did see that matchup a little bit last night, but he really isn't able to stop Wemby. Not that anyone is, but it does seem as if Portland might be favoring putting a wing on him, trying to use that mismatch to their advantage if they can, or just minimize the harm as much as possible, because in a center v center matchup, Wemby is going to dominate Klingon every time, and that is what we saw in the limited sample size last night. On the opposite end, the Blazers cannot get anything going in the paint. You don't go in the paint when you have Wemby on the floor. He played lots of minutes last night, more than he has been in the regular season. That is going to likely continue throughout the playoffs, unless we see the Spurs start to have some big leads going into the third, fourth quarter, in which case we may see his minutes stay similar to what they were throughout the season. But even when you have Wemby on the bench, then you have a guy like Luke Cornett coming off the bench onto the floor, was a more than capable rim protector in his own right, a legit 7-footer who is capable of blocking shots and really just making it difficult on the offense to take anything in there without risking a turnover or a difficult shot. The series does give Wemby a valuable few games to figure out what his offensive approach is going to be like in these playoffs. He's obviously more than happy living in the paint, demolishing anyone who tries to protect the rim against him. He's also more than capable of spreading the floor from the three-point line. We saw that last night. Portland isn't really able to stop that. Klingon's not the kind of defender that extends out to the three-point line, and Wemby is more than willing to just rise up above a smaller defender, even if it is technically a contested shot, because there's simply no way anyone is getting in the way of that release. As the playoffs go on and the Spurs move on to more and more difficult opponents, we will likely see Wemby revert his game a bit more to that traditional big, unless they really are feeling that they need that 5-out offense to thrive against a team like Denver, who's their likely round 2 opponent. Game 1 is looking like it could be the most competitive game of the series. I think that the Spurs will settle in very quickly to playoff mode, and even if the Blazers do the same, the talent disparity is large enough that the gaps should just keep getting bigger and bigger until the Blazers do inevitably get sent home. With that said, similar to Phoenix, still a successful season for Portland. Lost their head coach at the beginning of the season. Thiago Splitter has done a valiant job of holding this group together, and I do expect to see them back in the playoffs next season. Excited to see what they can do with an off season to make some roster changes.